Please, can you guys see my screen? Just let me know if you can. I don't know if you guys can. Hopefully you can. Let me just see if anyone is saying anything. So I'm sure. Okay, awesome. All right. Nice to be here. My name is Daniel Abayomi. I'm sure a couple of people know or not. And if you don't know, maybe popularly known as Pixel Dan. I'll be here to talk about communicating design, how to articulate design decision. But before moving forward, like I said, brief intro about me. I'm a product designer at Meta. I work with a small team within Meta, trying to experiment new products that we can push to the market globally. So I work with like a small experimentation team just to see new things, more like a startup. So think of a startup within Facebook, like you popularly know. So that's the team I work with. And this topic, I decided to pick this one because it was something I struggled with like for a long time. I feel like I'm still learning. But yeah, it's something that people have seen that we all as designers, we struggle with generally, and we always ask questions. So I'm like, you know what, let me just talk about this a bit. Hopefully we can learn from each other because I'm looking forward to learn while speaking as well. So I need an exercise here. I want you guys to imagine you walk into a restaurant or a bar or a bank anywhere, and this is what you find, right? It says push, like the door. This is the door itself. It says push, and if that doesn't work, you pull. And if that doesn't work either, then just know that they are closed. I just want to like picture how you would have felt if this was what you met, like at maybe like your favorite restaurant somewhere. So the thing about communicating design is it is not just about words. It's not just about inscription or just adding things to your screen or to a product, right? It is communicating meaningful things to users. And with this, we all can agree that we can agree on something. Design is good when it solves a problem, right? At least we can all agree on that, right? And if anyone does not agree on that, then I don't know. I have no words for you. But our job as designers majorly is to uncover problems. And this is something I discuss with people. Your primary job isn't to even like find solutions, to be honest. Like it's always to uncover problems. And the longer time you spend on a problem, understanding it, the more you get closer to a solution. And I always make this reference, the reference for a doctor, right? When you go to the hospital and maybe you have like stomach ache, right? Or it could be just headache. Then you speak to the doctor, you're like, oh, I'm feeling this thing in my head. And doctor tells you, lay down, we need to operate immediately. We need to cut out your skin and start operating. I mean, like technically you'd feel like doctor has lost his mind or mind, right? Because like, I mean, they've not asked you any question. They're not trying to diagnose the problem. I feel like us as designers, like we always do this thing where we are so quick to start solutioning, right? The moment we hear something, we just want to like craft solution, which is really nice. I mean, it's always good to have that solution-driven spirit. But you need to spend more time on the problem just to understand it. So you see doctors will ask you things that are even irrelevant to the particular ailment that you have. So let's imagine they can ask you things like, when was the last time you slept? When was the last time you ate? They try to, so the more they understand the unknowns, things that they don't know about, then it's easier for them to start knowing, start like at least leading with what they know today, right? And the difference between a good designer and a great designer is the ability to not, like I said, not only solve the problem, right? I mean, so you don't want to just end at just solving problem and say, yeah, I'm done. But also to articulate the design, like how the design solves it in a way that is really, really compelling and fosters agreement, right? And what this really means, at least the concluding part of this statement is, when you solve a problem, right, most times we're always user-centric, which is quite okay. Like, I mean, it should always be user-driven. Think about the users all the time. But then you also want to make this balance. Like the balance is with your stakeholders, with engineers, with maybe leadership, people at the top, right? Business owners and all that. You want to make sure you are aligning, at least you are agreeing on something. Like, oh, this is the problem we've uncovered. This is the solution we are proposing. And we need to actually agree on this thing, right? And you need to be able to communicate that in the best way possible. Because it's one, especially when you're working with like maybe like a bigger team, right? You are not the only person making decisions at this point. You want to get like buy-in from other people, right? And you want to be able to communicate that clearly. Now, this next part, so let's start talking about the main topic, which is communicating designs, right? Imagine you go like, so we're doing a lot of imagination, I'm so sorry. I like using real life objects for analogy. So you go to a restaurant, like, so let's say you get frustrated, you enter through that door that I initially showed you, and you were like, you might spend probably 3 seconds, right, at that doorstep. But those 3 seconds can actually be the thin line between you deciding if you want to still eat at that restaurant or if you never want to come back again, right? I mean, they could have just easily used a knob, maybe push and pull, but they had to over communicate, which I'll get back to very shortly. So you get to the restaurant after frustrating yourself there, then these are the chairs that you find. Which one of these chairs do you think is most useful or more usable among them? I mean, the first one feels like hunchback, right? Second one feels like you are decelerating. And the last one, I don't even know. But so the idea of this analogy basically is to see how when you don't communicate design in the most effective way, this is what people see. Because they feel frustrated, they feel like they don't know what to do with it, and they don't know how to use it. Right, so we shall get a little bit into that. So how can designers be more intentional about articulating their solutions to people? Their solutions, or after the problem, I mean, after the problem, you get to solution. So how do you articulate this to your audience or to stakeholders? So I'm going to like break design into like 2 facets here. So we have the ability for you to be flexible and also adaptive to change. And what that basically means is if you start to, when you join a new team or you are working solo, right, and you get maybe the product brief from whoever it is, or your business, it could be a client, it could be maybe just a pro bono project you're trying to like work on, right? When you're articulating your design, right, the solution, you need to be as flexible as possible. And I'll get a little bit deeper into that like shortly. And you also should always have this sense for change. Like you should be adaptive to change. Things can change, especially design. In the design world or engineering world, basically, things always change, right? It's like a circle, like it's always just evolving and evolving and evolving. And you're like, if you get stuck to one particular notion, it becomes very difficult for you to like accommodate those changes. And you want to be as flexible as possible, and you want to be able to adapt to change. Now, communicating design, like I said, so I'll be explaining just like maybe some pointers on how you can communicate designs to users and also stakeholders. And stakeholders could mean anyone. Like I said, it could be it could be business owners, it could be stakeholders like engineers, it could be anyone basically that is involved in the design / engineering or the software development process. You can refer to them as stakeholders. So now, to communicating designs to users, there are a couple of questions that I put out there that I feel like you should always ask, like every single time. First of all, when you're trying to solve a problem, ask yourself, what problem would this design solve? Or what problem does it generally solve? Secondly, is it easy and simple to use? So are we creating barriers? So design, like I said, design is solving a problem, right? You want to be sure, because there are some solutions that create new problems, right? But you want to, so those things sometimes are inevitable. Trust me, you can create a new solution. You hear things like someone might move into like a bigger apartment, right? Maybe like smaller apartment to a bigger apartment. That's a very good step up. But then there are like more things to now start considering. So things like maybe having to clean an entire apartment. That's a new problem it's bringing. or you buying, so going from like, this is not shade to Toyota users. Trust me, I use Toyota too, but when you upgrade from Toyota to a Benz, right, you're creating new problems for yourself. Because if anything happened, the one you can, I saw a joke sometime online. Someone said those popular Toyota Corollas that they use for ride hailing service nowadays, that you can actually find their spare parts for 250 naira or something. I just laughed. I'm like, okay. Yeah, but when you move to like a Benz, it becomes, you have like bigger problems now. So most of the questions you always ask yourself is it simple and easy to use? Are you creating new barriers, like creating barriers, or are you removing them from people's life? Then lastly, you should always document. So why did you choose this direction? So even if you are uncovering things, try and always have a reason, like why did you choose this direction, and is it a better like alternative? Or is it better than the alternative out there? And I'll expand on that. So solving a problem, like I said, your first notion, which is my principle as a designer, my first principle is always customer first, right? You want to always think about them. You want to try and empathize with them, know exactly what they're facing, why they're facing it, where they face these problems, right? So, and a lot of ways to uncover this. It could be you doing extra research, or you just doing like usability study, just to know, okay, what exactly is going on with people? What are the triggers that they have? There are some problem that comes as a result of something. So it could be, so maybe someone drives their car to work every day and there's traffic. There's a new problem, which is, commuting to the office without using their car, especially for lucky people that always have to swim to work, right? That's like a new problem. So you don't want to drive your car because you don't want your car swimming, right? So you want to use maybe like the alternative here. So these are one of the questions you want to ask people: what are the triggers for this problem you're facing? Where does it happen? Just basically just uncover their problem. Then the next thing you want to do while solving like problem is make sure that problem is productive, make sure it's valuable to them, and make sure they succeed using them. Like they should always be successful. I mean, if I pick up a new solution today, I want to use that to solve my problem. So if I'm not successful with that, then you've done two things. First of all, you've failed to solve my problem. Then secondly, you've lost trust in me as a user. So you want to make sure these things are things that you are really considering. Then the last thing is, and this is more on the marketing side or growth side, maybe not really a design problem, but is it better than the alternative, right? So if there are competitors out there, you want to make sure what you're solutioning for is at least better than what exists out there. Maybe not even better, but like why should they even choose you in the first place? So if I see people make debate from using Uber to one other, to maybe Bolt or something, and you start to realize what exactly is the difference. Yes, there is. So, but people would, so what appeals to one person may not appeal to the other person, right? So when you decide that, like while solving your problem, those are things that can inform your problem solving skills. Then also ask yourself, what keeps people? Like what will keep them? Like what keeps them here? What keeps them to use your product? Now, the next point, which is, like I said, easy to use and simple. So you asked this question: how does this particular design affect the user? Like what exactly are they doing? Like what impact will this design or this product or whatever it is we're working on, what's going to be the impact on that user? Then you also ask yourself, what behavior do we expect to see from users, and does our design encourage that? So if you're designing a product that helps maybe solve like a global problem or improve people's way of life, you want to see what their behaviors look like. So, and the point of having all these questions and answering all these questions basically is when you need to now articulate to, like I said, my second point, stakeholders. So you want to have all these facts first from the user's point of view. Then lastly, document. So you want to write out the problem and you want to also list the solutions next to it. So we found out that people, let's say, for instance, people have environmental problems. These are like the triggers for them when they need to, maybe there's like an emergency, or there's rain, or there is firestorm, or there is traffic, environmental factors that you can't control, right? And these things happen and they can't use what they currently use and they are seeking for alternatives. You want to list those problems, list solutions to them, try and connect the dots. Okay, this is what we're thinking. This is how we are looking at it. So you say things like, oh, even this is the vision, this is what we are looking at achieving first, right? So you list all those things out. Then you take a lot of notes. Like doing one thing I like doing is just taking notes. Like I take notes a lot when I'm speaking to users, when I'm maybe doing feasibility study, anything I'm doing, basically, it could be all the scribble. Like now I even have notes here, like just write your notes. And a very good book that I think everyone should mostly check is Articulating Design Decisions by Tom Greener. Griever, I said Greener. Tom Griever. It's a really, really good book. I read it up to half one time. I didn't finish it actually because I had a lot of things. But little I read then really, really helped me. And something I'm really willing to like read again, maybe sometime. Once I'm done with my current book, I will do that. So now when you've gathered all these insights and you know all these things, you've asked yourself all these questions, right? And you now want to now present them to people that are involved in your process, or people that would at least approve. Maybe you're trying to get approval from leadership or something. How do you do this? So the first thing you need to do is understand the relationships. And basically what this means is, if you're going to be speaking to marketing experts, or you're going to be speaking to, let's say you're speaking to your CEO, and your CEO is more of like a marketing person or a product person, you need to just identify the people you're speaking to first. Like plan. So basically plan ahead of time. Know the list of people that would join maybe your presentation. If let's say you created this solution and you need to like talk to people, understand just like your relationship, like, okay, what exactly would these people want to hear? So that way, you manage expectations for yourself. Another thing you should always do again is stay focused, right? So one thing about design is everyone always have an opinion with design. Like everyone always has one opinion. One person will come out and be like, I think this is the right way to do this. But then one thing you should always understand, always keep at the back of your mind, is you're an expert in this field. Like they hired you for a reason to come and show your expertise. Even if you're a junior, like you're still hired for something, right? So the way you can manage that, and this is something I learned from my manager, is just write down objectives. So you're leading the meeting is coming up, write all the objectives, the agenda for that meeting. Oh, this meeting, these are the things I would cover in this meeting. We'll be looking at this, we'll be looking at why I did this, we'll be looking at maybe the prototype. And then in that objective, you can also list like when you want question and answers to come in, which means you want to stay focused. You want to be able to like present your solution until before people start to interrupt, right? You want to make sure like all the design decisions you made, you can articulate them efficiently, right? And another thing you should always remember is, so you should know how to respond. So basically I put this in bracket: repeat, rephrase, circle back. Basically what this means is, as you are going forward, try and repeat yourself sometimes, just to make sure you're carrying everyone along, right? So sometimes maybe it's very easy for us to just get caught up in our explanation, and we're not even like trying to like devise if people even understand what you're saying, if people are following, if people even like, are they with you? Are you guys all currently on the same page? You want to make sure you're repeating, you are rephrasing some of your things, and you're circling back like, oh, go back to that, maybe that first point, and ask them if it's good enough for them to move forward, right? So another thing you can do as a tip is allow maybe like 1 or 2 questions in between, maybe when you've gone to like a particular milestone. So just say, oh, I'm going to allow 2 questions at this point. If you have a question, please just ask me a question. If your question is not relating to this particular point where we are, no problem. Keep that question. We'll actually just park a lot it and we'll come back to it later. Right? You want to make sure you're owning that meeting, you're leading it, right? And the next thing again is, this is like a tip that my manager taught as well. So he said, always lead with a yes. So if someone tells you, I don't know why we are using this thing, just say, yes, I understand you. Yes, I agree, but I'll get back to you later. Oh, yes, you're right. We can actually find more, we can do more research and understand maybe this problem. Yes, so that yes just gives people like, they feel heard, like they feel like you're listening to them. They feel like you consider their opinion, right? You're taking it in. And then you are just trying to stay focused and not get distracted. But then, like I said, this thing still has to do with like you understanding the relationship from the beginning, understand the people in the room, And you don't have to really know all their biography or anything. Just like, no, okay, these are the kind of people that I should be expecting. If people are not design inclined, let's say they're not like designers like you, it's going to be very hard for you to like start talking about design jargon. So you, like I said, just on identifying people just helps you like plan more efficiently. And basically, this is like the last major thing is listening. So listening is understanding. And what this majorly means is when you listen to people, you understand things better, right? You spend more time listening than talking, right? Especially when maybe you guys are like brainstorming. So let's imagine like, let's use the same scenario. You are actually, you are presenting a design decision that you guys have made. Maybe you guys have built like this new crazy product that is about to enter the market and you want to get buy-in from people. Make a list, which is very close to what I said before. Make a list, the agenda, but also just prep people, prep everyone. Okay, these are the things that we've done. So maybe you are saying, make a bullet list of all the solutions that you guys have done. You don't have to explain it, just bullet list like this, and just tell them these are the things that we'll be covering, right? And these are the objectives that we would actually cover. So it even helps you stay on track, like you yourself, you know exactly, and you're not trying to like lead away from the conversation. Secondly, always anticipate reaction. So as much as you plan, there will always be objection. Trust me, people would always object. So you always want to just have like that at the back of your mind. Anticipate reactions. You might explain the solution and they don't like it. One thing you should try to do is ensure that your countenance doesn't really change, right? Your demeanor, you want to make sure like you are still, like you're learning, right? Because the point of design or any job basically is to learn. You can learn on the job, right? So you're learning from them, you're listening to people, and which is the third point here. People like to be heard, like they want to always feel like someone is listening, someone hears them, right? So don't be defensive. Try and have a conversation. If someone is saying something that is very, very different, or the person is trying to like oppose you or antagonize you within your call, trying to take over your meeting, just tell the person, I'm going to pack a lot to this meeting. I'm going to like, I understand you. Yes, you're right. I understand your frustration on this, but then that is not the purpose of this meeting now. Let you and I circle back and just talk to you, or we'll address this at the end of the meeting so that I can at least continue. So you don't want to just keep on arguing and arguing and arguing, whereas the person has hijacked your meeting. Because first of all, that shows unprofessionalism. It shows that you're not capable of being a leader, right? Because leaders should always know how to like handle things. So you want to make sure you're communicating the right thing. So, and one thing you should always remember is, as much as you're communicating design decisions to people, stakeholders, you're also communicating your leadership skill as well. You're communicating that you're trustworthy, you can take things in, you're not taking things personal, you're flexible, and you are adaptive to change, like I said before. And lastly, you want to document. Be an obsessive note taker. Always and always just take notes. Just if I'm doing a meeting, I'm just asking generally in a meeting, how are you doing? I'm writing, oh yeah, weekend was fine, blah, blah. Or something I've introduced in like a couple of meetings like I do, just like generally just document. Write notes, even when you're just brainstorming, you're just thinking about something, just take some subtle notes for yourself, right? I am a little bit old school and manual, so I'm always having this paper and pen. I know people would use their iPad, people would use their phones. For me, I just use paper and pen. That's why I'm always interested in collecting merch. Like if you see any company that's giving notepad, please just get one for me. I'll take it, because I've used so many of these this year. I think about 5 of these this year for note taking. So I'll keep on using them. They are really, really important to me. So, and then lastly, we are advocates of our own design. So when you design something, stand by it, boast in your chest that yes, you did a good job. Even if you feel like that design doesn't really, maybe it's not the best, right? But then just be confident in the fact that you went through that process. Be grateful that you put your time, right? So don't beat yourself out. Even if they don't even take your design, your design fails, just learn from that experience and just reiterate. Like basically, a lot of companies, top companies, they feel that multiple products. So don't beat yourself.
My baby.
Can you guys hear me? I think that's actually all. So thank you for listening to me, for coming. I hope you guys even heard anything or even took something from what we talked about, hopefully. It's my host.